Two former DOC directors speaking out, saying the bottom line, the buck stops at the top.
Certainly things have gone wrong under his watch.
The way the prison operates is greatly impacted positively or negatively by the management of that prison.
They're talking about DOC Director Tony Lamarena. Several corrections officers served by Lamarena with adverse actions as suspended. Those officers responding by arguing they weren't properly trained and management's inability to maintain facilities contributed to conditions that allowed detainee Manson Isar to be beaten to death by a group of men confined at the Agatna lockup.
Somebody shouldn't be killed or murdered in prison, and if you don't do enough to protect them, you may face some civil liabilities in the long run.
Well, later down the road may come sooner than you think, as DOC Oversight Chair Senator Talina Nelson says she'll write a letter to the Department of Justice detailing what she calls civil rights violations under Tony Lamarena's leadership at the prison. A source at the prison choosing to remain anonymous because of a gag order issued to employees told me Manson Isar, quote, got what he deserved.
I don't agree at all.
Isar facing trial for allegedly raping a woman with Down syndrome.
Now we have capital punishment at our own prison. He has a responsibility to make sure that bad things don't happen to them, no matter how they got into prison.
Director Tony Lamarena firing back, saying problems at the prison are nothing new.
These directors, for them to say that these weren't going on during their time, then they've had their heads stuck in the sand.
Inmates did not run the prison during that period of time. I'll guarantee you that.
While both of the former directors say sometimes people without relevant experience can be successful in leading a government agency, in this case, Lamarena and Deputy Director Kate Baltazar's lack of experience could be one of the reasons for the crisis at DOC.
A director and a deputy with no prior correctional background, and I thought that's maybe handicapping him a little bit. I had a lot of law enforcement background before I became Director of Corrections, and I was not prepared to be director.
Running the prison requires quite a commitment from leadership, and you can't help but question how committed leadership is when Deputy Director Baltazar is currently campaigning as a candidate for senator. Klitsky says that prevents her from fully focusing on matters at hand at the island's prison.
Absolutely. Being Director of Corrections, being Deputy of Corrections, is more than a full-time job. There's no time left over for anything else.
The deputy, since coming on board, has helped tremendously with her writing skills and grants, capacity in getting us some funding for the department. When the time comes, based on law, she will depart from the department and, greatly missed.
Baltazar supposed to step down once she files her official candidacy, but she's already had at least one fundraiser that was advertised on a DOC employee WhatsApp chat. Less than a year ago, the prison's federal consent decree was lifted. It's all been downhill since then, but that didn't stop the governor from claiming all was well with DOC in his State of the Island address.
And your lieutenant governor worked alongside our attorney general and the speaker, thank you, Speaker, and fixed the problems at DOC.
Problems that still exist. At the DOC Oversight hearing, Internal Affairs head Anton Uggan sounded off, frustrated by conditions.
There's no cameras there, all right? So the equipment doesn't even work. The locks are broken. The locks, we have a lot of things to take care of.
Lamarena, however, saying perception is not reality, and the public hears about problems plaguing the prison because they're not being swept under the rug.
We've become, more transparent. And with transparency comes the appearance of failure and negativity.
So do the two former directors think Lamarena should be replaced or fired?
That's a tough question. I thought maybe he should have, but he's already withstood that test, and he's still a director, so I think he needs to just continue.
It's the governor's call as to how long he would leave any director on the job in the face of what might appear to some, many, or most as misconduct.
If the governor feels that, I should be replaced, then, I serve at the pleasure of the governor.
I think that our prison system is probably safer than most in the States, and I think that we're spared some of the extreme gang violence. I think we're seeing some of that now, but I think that we should strive for a better system.
But can we have a better system without a better facility?
I mean, our buildings are old and dilapidated. Our structure is just, our whole system is just old. And nobody pays attention to any of that until something goes wrong. And then all of a sudden, it's our fault because we didn't do anything.
It's a prison. Bad things will happen with bad people. That's the argument DOC made at the oversight hearing.
And we do have incidents every now and then because we are running a prison. We are running a prison. These people don't follow the law, okay? And putting them in a building and all expecting them to grow halos over their head overnight and be all nice and yes sir, it doesn't work that way. They do violate the law. And like I said, unlike what people think, our number of incidents is actually down a lot.
Even playing the facilities card. Oversight Chair Senator Nelson not having it.
You know what's interesting to me?
Yes.
You're telling me that you have a shortage in officers. You're telling me that you're working on these procedures that you have no documentation for, and yet you still manage to get 8 guards to escort 22 inmates for a morale day at an Easter event. And so what this is saying is for me, I'm thinking, well, if you can do a morale day for Easter event and you take away 8 guards and you're telling me that you only have 2 on a post sometime or 5 on a post sometime, then we're not using the resources properly.
La Morena says the new era of transparency at the island's prison leaves it in the news more often.
So we're actually having them arrested now, and actually cases are opened. You're seeing now them being cases being pursued in the courts as a result of assaults at DOC. So you know we're going beyond what was happening in the past. You hear about it because we call Mendanya. When a throwing occurs, we immediately call the Guam Police Department, and of course it's blottered, and the community knows about it.
Do you think that it would be more prudent to maybe promote from within, or kind of do away with this idea where you have cabinet members running agencies that they have no experience in running?
It's really personality driven. There may be people that are in the uniform service at the department right now who could do a really good job of running the prison. Maybe not.
How each department performs or underperforms is the governor's responsibility. And sometimes someone who's got no prior experience can be very, very successful. So I don't want to put a kibosh on people without the experience. I think that you look at people with managerial and leadership experience and can they learn the job? Because very few people really hit the road running in corrections or in a police department.
The reality is this is a culture that has been going on for many years. And for us now to make these changes and to face the realities that what has been going on is now we're putting a stop to it. And of course, you know, we're going to get the negativity that we've been getting in the past. But the reality is we're taking those steps to make sure that DOC is operated the way it should be.